Okay, so Wolves go away to Newcastle on a Friday. Don't know whose big brain idea that was, but fair play to any of you if you actually are going to Newcastle. Got a lot of respect for you because I would never do that. Before a 16-day break until we play Burnley, which is great because we will inevitably lose to Burnley as we always do. Obviously, the fixtures kind of went our way at the weekend. I know West Ham won, but Arsenal lost and Man United dropped points. And now it kind of feels like there's two teams being sucked into the race for seventh. And to be honest, I don't think Man United would really care if they dropped to eighth. I think a lot of their fans would probably want us to get Conference League. So we've got kind of a nice little chance, especially with three winnable games against Brighton, Burnley, and Newcastle. If we can get on a nice little run. Newcastle's first up. I think Newcastle, this is probably the most winnable of, well, Brighton's probably the most winnable, but Newcastle aren't in good form. They're safe, let's be honest. They're not going to get relegated. They've lost their last three games to Chelsea, Everton, and Tottenham, I think. Chelsea, Everton, Tottenham. And it kind of feels like the wheels have come off a bit. I think Eddie Howe's actually done a better job than I thought he would have. I'm not a big fan of Eddie Howe. I think he's kind of overrated. You know, the amount of money he spent at Bournemouth and didn't really do anything particularly special. But, you know, since he's gone there on November 8th, you know, this is the Premier League table since he took over. We've obviously played a game more than them, but they're only 6 points behind us, or 7 points, sorry. So if they win their in theory game in hand, they'd only be 4 points off us in that time period. And we've been pretty good over the second half of the season. So you know, it shows that Eddie Howe's had a good effect, but Newcastle have nothing really to play for. They're in bad form. They're not really scoring. They've just conceded 5. This feels like a really big opportunity for Wolves to kind of put some more pressure on Man United and West Ham going into, you know, another week and a half off. The lineup, I think, picks itself, really. I don't think there's any major talking points. I'd pick Aït-Nouri over Marcel. That's just personal preference. But I wouldn't have an issue with Marcel starting. I think he will because it's away from home. And I think Bruno clearly rates Marcel higher than Aït-Nouri. I think that's pretty fair to deduce now. I'd just play Aït-Nouri because he's our player. I don't think there's much difference between them. Actually, that's a lie. I think Aït-Nouri is definitely better than Marcel. But I don't think that, even if you think they are similar levels, one of them's 10 years younger and one of them's our player. So I'd much rather just put development into Aït-Nouri, but, you know, Bruno has his preferences, it's fine. Marcel was pretty good against Villa. Bolly came in, I assume that will stay the same. I don't really care who plays over Bolly or Sace, to be honest, but if Sace is going to leave on a free, I'd rather just put minutes into Bolly's legs. Obviously, Johnny will start at right back. There's no point in risking Semedo after a hamstring injury. And Johnny's looked good on the right. You know, when Johnny came back from that injury the first time round, I'm not going to lie, I don't think he was done or anything, but I wasn't really impressed. He didn't look the same as he did before. And since he's come back, he's kind of like a different player from what I remember him. Obviously, it's been so long since he's really played regularly. You know, it's been, like 3 years, 2.5 years. But maybe playing on the right's just something we've never really explored. And I think he's done it a couple of times in the Cup. But he looks more comfortable on the right. He clearly gets forward better. Maybe that's a bit of a reaction, but he's got more goals than Semedo's got in, 2 years at the club. That might just be a coincidence. He's clearly a decent finisher and he offers us something. You know, we don't have an obvious goal threat up front, so it's nice for players to pitch in from other areas. Obviously, we don't have any choice in midfield because we've only got 2 midfielders at the club. Although I thought Dendoncker was really good against Villa. I didn't really speak about him much in my video after the Villa game, but he was actually really good. He actually drove forward with the ball. He didn't take like 7 touches like he normally does. And that's a positive. You know, we're kind of seeing what life might be like after Ruben Neves. Obviously, there was that story midweek, which I think the club put out very strategically, about Ruben Neves leaving. But Moutinho and Dendoncker looked fine, and Newcastle's midfield's terrible. You know, John Joe Shelby's a terrible footballer. And Bruno Guimaraes just doesn't start for them for some reason. So I'd back us to win that midfield battle. And then front three, obviously Daniel Plent's probably been our form attacker this season, which isn't, it's not hard. They've all been pretty bad, but obviously Daniel Plent has to play. He's the only guy that can make a progressive pass in this team. Trincao, I thought he wasn't as good as I thought he would be against Villa. After that Leeds game, I thought he was going to kind of explode a bit. I thought he was good. I'm not slagging him off. He did enough to hold his place. But away from home, maybe that will suit him more. I don't know. But I think you have to stick with Trincao. We can't play in midfield free. Hwang, I'm just not really a big fan of, and I think Hwang's better off the left. And I don't really want to move Potence out of that position. And Chiquinho's barely played. And then Fabio Silva obviously starts through the middle for me. Obviously, Raul Jimenez is still suspended anyway. Big game for Fabio Silva now. His all-round game was good against Villa, but, you know, as much as Wolves fans are backing Fabio Silva, and it's really nice to see, He still hasn't scored a goal yet. And away at St James's on a Friday, why not? Like, why not for Fabio? And look, I get that people still have their reservations about Fabio Silva. Fine. I wouldn't have paid the money we paid for him. I don't think anyone would have. It's still no goals, no assists, albeit it's only in 300 minutes in this season. But like I saw on Twitter, if he plays against Newcastle, it'll be his 50th game. And for someone that's 19 to play 50 Premier League games at his age will only be good for his career. And the thing is with Wolves, when you buy players like Fabio and like Keanu Herrera and Reine Nuri, you kind of have to accept the fact they're just going to have bad games or bad form. Like when Keanu Herrera had that bad game against West Ham, everyone was freaking out, going, "Oh, get rid of him," blah blah. You kind of have to just accept this is Wolves' transfer policy. You kind of just have to get behind these guys and just trust their talent level. And I know Fabio's played such a limited sample size; it's kind of hard to read like his numbers, but his pressures and tackles are high. You can never doubt Fabio's work rate. I don't really think that's any. I don't think anyone's ever doubted that anyway. But he's always had that. Touches in the penalty box 7. And I know these sounds like stupid things to say, but getting touches in the penalty box, we don't. There's a reason we never get penalties. So we're barely in the area. So the fact that Fabio's getting touches in the penalty box and also having a lot of shots, to me that suggests he's got good movement. These are things Raul Jimenez doesn't pop in terms of his stats. So for me, in a limited sample size, the fact he's getting high shot volume and touching the ball in the box, to me that says he's got good movement. Obviously his finishing's not been incredible, obviously, granted, but these are good kind of signs. To have 3.3 shots for a 19-year-old kid in the Premier League, that's rare, man. Even winning 2.3 aerial duels, I know Fabio's tall, but that doesn't always mean you're going to be good in the air. Like Max Kilman was really bad in the air last year, even though he's like 6'5". To win 2.3 aerial wins in the Premier League for a guy that's 19, he's clearly bulking out. His movement's good. And I think if he was in a team that was creating more chance, he'd probably have a few more goals. And, obviously Raul Jimenez will probably come back into the team after the suspension, but Fabio's kind of playing for his future here. If he has a bad run towards the end of the season, Raul Jimenez isn't going anywhere. And if Fabio has a bad run, he'll probably end up going out on loan. So he's kind of playing for his future next season. But he gets good shots up. Having 3.3 shots is rare. Like, elite strikers don't always get that. If you let me just check. But if you look at someone like Harry Kane, who I think everyone would admit is probably the best Premier League striker, 3.6. And Harry Kane shoots from everywhere, obviously, but every top striker in Europe has high shot volume. It doesn't mean they're finishing them all, but it's because they get in good areas and they have good movement. For me, Fabio has the right things. Of course, he needs to bulk out even more. But for me, he just needs to run in a side. I don't think it's that complicated. I don't think he's really done anything wrong whenever he's played. And I'm backing Fabio to score. I think we'll win this game pretty comfortably, to be honest. I'm not scared of Newcastle. Their midfield's terrible. Chris Wood can barely score a goal. The fact they paid 25 million for him is outrageous. Dan Burn and Fabian Schär's an alright centre-back partnership, I guess. And Dubravka's a good goalkeeper, but there's nothing scary about Newcastle on a Friday night at all. And I think we'll win this pretty easily. I did a video on the Ruben Neves situation if you want to watch that. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel. There'll be a video after the game. And yeah, peace.